We can start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us today. I am Divya Narahari, your host for this book launch event. Thank you so much for being here and for choosing to share this moment with us. Today isn't just about launching a book, it's about creating space for a different kind of conversation around ambition, success, and sustainability. Unburnable Ambition invites us to reflect on how we pursue our goals, what we sacrifice along the way, and what it might look like to achieve without burning ourselves out. My hope for you is that you feel seen, inspired, and curious to listen deeply, to notice what resonates, and to carry forward what feels truly meaningful for your own life and journey. And to give you a sense of how our time together will flow, we'll begin with a brief welcome and introduction to the heart behind Unburnable Ambition. We'll then move into a guided conversation with our author, and you'll also read a short reading from the book, and then we'll move into the exciting giveaway and engagement with our audience. Hi, Shika.
Hi, Divya.
Congratulations on your book, Unburnable Ambition.
Thank you.
Let me introduce you. Shika has been my special friend, but Shika is a author, podcaster, and unapologetic overachiever, learning to redefine success without burnout. Born and raised in India and now living in Canada, she brings a unique perspective shaped by cultural expectations, immigrant grit, and a decade long of career in tech leadership. Shika is the host of Rise and Tell with Shika, a podcast featuring conversations with entrepreneurs, creatives, and leaders about growth, resilience, and telling the stories that matter. She also runs multiple YouTube channels documenting travel and lifestyle while writing both non-fiction and fiction, including her upcoming sci-fi romance. With over 11 years of experience as a QA leader, Scrum Master, a certified product owner, and speaker, Shrika blends personal narrative with practical tools to help ambitious professionals escape toxic hustle, reclaim their energy, and build lives that truly feel good on the inside as well as how they look on paper. When she isn't writing or recording, you can find her traveling, sipping a craft beer, or chasing sunsets with her husband and her dog Onyx. Rise, tell, rest, repeat. That's her mantra. And the heartbeat of everything she creates. Thank you, Shika.
Thank you, Divya, for that wonderful introduction that you gave. I am so honored and I feel so special right now. And I want to thank everybody who came here today. I know we are running a little bit late because of technical difficulties, but I am excited. So let's just get this going. Before I say anything, I want to introduce Divya, our host for today. So, everybody, please welcome Divya Reddy. She is joining us from Texas today. And I wanted to mention it to everyone that this was her idea. And she's been giving me ideas on how to market my books since 2021 when I released the first book, The IT Girl. And I have, because I suck at marketing, I've been ignoring some of her thoughts and ideas. But this time I was like, let's do it. So Divya here is an incredible software developer and she works for IBM. Not just that, Divya is also a certified yoga and meditation guide, someone who understands both high ambition and deep grounding. And I need to tell everybody that when I got the idea for burnout for overachievers, I actually asked her that because I knew she was a fellow overachiever. Same thing with the first book, too. And she's been the constant person who gives me all these ideas for launching the book at different places, going to different avenues, trying to figure out how to market the book, how to hold events. So this was possible only because of her, and she's awesome at what she does. So thank you, Divya. Thank you so
That's
much.
so kind, Shika. But that this is your unburnable ambition. So you made it. So let's move on further. And to help us anchor into what the book is really about, let me ask you a few questions. And one question is, what sparked the book, the idea of this book for you?
Great question. Totally not scripted. But here's my answer. So I know I was undergoing, like, I didn't know that I was undergoing burnout until I started crumbling. And I'm like, okay, this is not me. I can do multiple things all the time, but what's happening to me? And so when I started reading about my symptoms, what I was going through, and I was just being irritated all the time. And I don't even have kids, it being like putting yourself in different roles, trying to be the best and showing up for yourself 200% every day at everything you do was eating me up. And I started to realize that I was doing so many things. I'm like, okay, something is really wrong and I need to fix it. I started digging deeper, and that's when I realized that I was undergoing burnout. And I thought that there are a lot of books on burnout. When you type in books for burnout in the market, you'll find a lot of them, but nothing from an immigrant point of view. I am a proud immigrant, Divya, you are too, and many others who've joined here are also immigrants. It's just that, yes, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, all amazing, successful people, and they talk about burnout too. But I knew that there was a gap and that was missing. And so I had to fill it. And that's what sparked Unburnable Ambition.
That's great to know. And what in particularly this book covers? What kind of gap or question this book responds to?
So, if you're an overachiever or not, if you are wearing different hats all throughout the day, throughout the month, and you want to be the best at what you do, you might not know that you're undergoing burnout. And that is what this book covers. I usually go and telling people in my podcast and everywhere else that this book is not a self help book. It's not a meditation book. It doesn't have a 3-step plan or a 4-step plan, but my hope is that this book is going to help you figure out what success means to you. Because as immigrants, we've been taught a certain idea of success because that's what we grew up listening to or watching. And that's how society is. But I want you to figure out what success means to you and try to figure out what's burning you out. Because for me, it was that I had a certain definition of success in my head, and I wanted to be successful at everything I did. So I took on more. And because I wanted to be perfect at everything, that's how I ended up being burned out. And I did not even realize that. So the gap that this book fixes, I don't want to say fixes, but as it will try to make sure that your mindset and the way you think about success is changed. You shift your priorities to how it matches you, what you want to do, without losing that magic. So for example, if you want to do yoga, you want to be the best yoga teacher, you want to be the best software developer, you want to be a great mom, you want to be a great sister, you also want to be a great friend. But let's be honest, all of this just drains us. And we just sweep it under the rug by saying, you know what? Everybody's doing it. It's normal and it's natural. But you don't realize when you look at the symptoms that I've mentioned in the book about burnout, that's when you realize, okay, this is what burnout is. And I've added my immigrant point of view. So that's the gap that I was trying to fill in the market. Hundreds of books on burnout, but nothing that talks about the immigrant values, our culture, our expectations that each one of us has, or everything that we carry on our shoulder when we move out of our country with those 2 suitcases, into a totally different place, meet new people, set our life. And then we don't realize that, okay, we were chasing a definition of success. Maybe it was your mom's definition, your dad's definition, but then you somewhere down the line lost yourself. So my hope is that that gap where, you think you're being successful, your goalposts are changing, your milestones are changing. But I just want you to know that don't lose yourself in doing that. Figure out what sparks joy in you and don't let that burn you out.
Thanks. That's a gap, or that's a question we all have when we feel burnt out. And
Correct.
our ambition feels further away, our goals feel further away, and we are sitting here all exhausted or looking for a direction, right? And
Correct.
trying to fill in all the cups.
Yes.
Yeah. And
And
who's this book for?
so I know I marketed by saying how overachievers win without burnout, and I'm targeting for the ambitious people, but this book is for everybody. If you are, a young professional, or even if you've been in the industry for quite some time, you've gotten used to a certain lifestyle or a certain way of doing things. And eventually, you might not even know that, okay, you had all these things, you were going through all these things, and that was burnout. So this book is for everybody, not just for overachievers or for overly ambitious people like you and me, Divya, but it's for everyone. Pick up the book, and when you read through it, and the feedback that I've gotten from people who've actually read it already is that the tips that I had after each chapter in the book is applicable for anybody. It doesn't have to be just because you have amazing dreams, you want to be the next Ambani or the next Michelle Obama. No, it's just not for you guys. It's for everybody. A coworker of mine came up to me the other day and told me, I don't know, Jacob, if you're here, but he said, I read the book. It was great, and there were so many points that triggered feelings and thoughts in me. And I was like, okay, that's great. And another coworker came up to me and he told me, I've actually been implementing what you mentioned in the book about doing something you love before your work shift even starts, and that's been lowering his stress. So my answer is going to be, this book is for everybody. Read it and know it for yourself.
Yeah, totally for it. And what kind of research actually went into while you were writing this book?
Great question. So I was waiting, I was hoping I can answer this. So this was the most difficult part for me. I knew what I was going through and I had my own experience, but I needed something to back it up. And obviously, what more than peer reviewed, formally published articles? So I started doing my research and I realized, yes, there are actually a lot of research articles published out there on burnout, work life balance, the lack of systems, and how your cultural differences, especially for the immigrants. Like, I was shocked when I was doing my research. I was like, okay, I'm going through my own experience and I'm an immigrant and I'm writing all of this. But when I started doing research, I figured out that there are a lot of industries and a lot of people who've actually done research on how your work stress and how you perform, and the link between your performance plus your cultural background and also your experience of moving countries, or shifting from one comfort zone to a completely different one. All of that affects it. And especially when it comes to burnout, I was so intrigued to learn and I wanted to share. So when I started going through the research, I wanted to share it with everybody. I'm like, this is just perfect. So I've included a lot of peer reviewed articles and a lot of well researched articles from a different magazines, publications. So please go check it out. And I'm actually going to quote one of those when we get to another section of our live event today.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for doing all this background work and research for us so we can just get it into our hands and read it.
Thank you. My pleasure. Happy to do it.
Yeah. And I totally understand how an ambition or our purpose in life can sometimes starts to burn us out. I was recently doing a training with yoga medicine. It's called the burnout resiliency yoga training, where how dysregulated our nervous system becomes when we are trying to fill in so many cups,
Yep.
not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones as well.
Correct.
And I hope we read a lot of tips and gain a lot of anchors, so that we can use it from the book. Yeah.
That's my
And
hope too.
why don't you read something from your book so that we all can get started?
This is my favorite part. Happy to. Okay, now it makes me feel like a very esteemed author and like a, very official event. But thank you, Divya, for giving this idea. So yeah, I'm gonna read, and it's a small one, everybody. So don't worry. I know it's almost midnight in India, and I know people are joining us from all over the world. So keep it short. This is about. This is from page 109 from the book on why systems matter. Building a process that works is crucial to any project, big or small. If you're someone who loves to stay organized and well informed on milestones and metrics, then you love systems. Look around: hospitals, airline, software industry, even your morning coffee shop, they all run on systems. Without systems, chaos takes over. The same is true in our personal lives. Ambitious people think they can power through on passion alone, but passion without process leads straight to exhaustion. Research shows burnout is often rooted in system failures, not just personal weakness. Healthcare studies prove it. When structures collapse, individuals crumble. One of my favorite articles stated this: the cumulative effect of system failures can contribute to decreased morale and burnout of the workforce. While burnout manifests in individuals, it is fundamentally rooted in systems. Manifestations of burnout can be physical, such as exhaustion and insomnia, or psychological, including fatigue and decreased productivity. Burnout can also manifest in individuals emotionally, resulting in a lack of motivation, lack of empathy, a sense of failure, disengagement, and a decreased sense of personal accomplishment. That was it.
Wow, I'm like digesting, marinating what you read. Yeah, thank you for reading that out, and how important you share that systems are so important to achieve our ambitions or even to just run our lives day to day in
Correct.
peace, right? Yeah, thank you.
Of course, of course. And I
Huh?
kind of experienced that. What happened was I was trying to have my podcast. I was interviewing guests, multiple guests over in a day on the weekends. I started skipping events because I always had something on my calendar. And I was like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm achieving so much. I'm putting myself out there. But then I realized I started getting super irritated and exhausted. My sleep score went down, and people who are close to me know how obsessed I am about my sleep score. My appetite went down, and suddenly I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back. And that's when, after I did the research, I actually implemented everything, not everything, but almost everything that I read. And one of the most important thing was systems. I had hired a content manager and editor, and now I had a schedule, not my schedule, but his. And whoever I hired was on top of everything that he did. And so I had to give him things every week so that he can work on it and then put it out. And that's when I took a big sigh of relief. I'm like, wow, okay, all I needed was a proper system to not get burnt out, and also some other things too, which I mentioned in the book. But yeah, systems are so important, and establishing boundaries. I know a lot of the times we feel like, oh, it's, our family, or it's just a friend. We know them for X amount of years. But as an overachiever, as anybody, like as a working professional, if you don't establish those boundaries, that's going to come haunt you. And that will indirectly translate to burnout later in life.
So wonderful to just hear the author's perspective on systems and how you implemented a system to make your podcast going and, sharing such insightful topics with us. Yeah, I'm a fan of all your topics so far, and I learned a great deal of information from that. And sometimes a lot of tips, and sometimes a lot of insights that I was not even aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Divya.
Oh, 1 second before we move. Yeah, Shika, can you share with our audience where your book is available to purchase, on what platforms?
Of course. So right now it's available on in North America and all over the world except India. You can find the ebook and paperback on all leading platforms, starting with Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Indigo, Target, Walmart, anywhere that you search for a book, even on airports. If you go to the not the physical copy, but if you go to Hudson's website, you will also find it over there. You can buy it Prime, you get it in a day or a two. But for India, the ebook is available already on Amazon, but the paperback, the physical copy, will be available on 23rd Jan 2026.
Get ready, India. Yeah. So now we'll move into the most exciting part of this event, the giveaway. Can you share what you're giving away to your audience today?
Of course. So I wanted to feel like a real author, and since I cannot have
Or real
everybody,
author.
no, I mean like a professional published author. Yeah, I am a real author. Um, I wanted to give away signed copies of my book to whoever wins this giveaway that Divya is now going to talk about. Um, you if you let's say if we announce that you're winning, you've won this round or one question or second question or whatever it is, you will get a physical signed copy from me, and irrespective of where you are in the world, I will ship it to you personally.
Wow. Great. So get ready, everyone. So, the giveaway time. So, the rules for this giveaway are: the fastest clear answer in the chat wins. So, please answer only once, and whoever answers the question fastest and clear. And for most of the questions, there's no right answer. Everything is like a reflective question. So, yeah, let's start. Okay.
Let's do it.
So, with our first question: true or false? Burnout is always caused by working too hard. Let me check the chat. True or false? Burnout is always caused by working too hard.
Whoever types in first gets to win. Okay.
So, our first giveaway winner is Lagutha.
Yay.
Congratulations. We'll move on to the next. One word only. What does burnout steal from us the most? What does burnout steal from us the most?
We should have had like a haunting music in the background for the giveaway.
Okay,
Karth.
winner for this is Karthik.
Yay.
And let's move on to the third question. Okay, but what? Let's know what Karthik answered. Karthik said life. What does
Ooh,
burnout steal from us the most? Life. Yeah.
deep.
Okay, next. What's one topic you've heard the author talk about on the Rise and Tell podcast? Who knows the author?
And yeah, I'm going to shamelessly plug my podcast here. If you haven't checked out my podcast, please go check it out. It's available on all streaming platforms: Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, everywhere. Go check it out. There are over 50 plus episodes, and it's I've interviewed authors, producers, directors, business owners, and so many other people who've gone from nothing to something.
So the next giveaway winner is Balaji, and the topic is about the burnout.
I do. I do. There's one episode specifically about, actually, two or three guests have spoken about burnout. And yeah, go check it out. Go check out that episode too. And it's great. Like those insights, there are times when even I am shocked to learn facts or life of certain guests that I have on the podcast. So yeah, go check it out.
Okay,
Nice.
let's move on to the next one. Drop one emoji that describes your relationship with ambition, your ambition right now.
Divya, what would yours be?
Mine would be when I think about ambition, I would first be like a scary emoji, but then I have an,
Fair.
you know, maybe heart,
Yeah.
you know,
Mine would be the burning heart.
burning heart. Okay, Shrishti Bharadwaj is
Yay.
next giveaway winner. And let me ask, what are
Ooh.
oh, it's the skeleton symbol? What do you call it?
Yeah, the skull and bones.
Skull and bones. Okay.
I mean, she's a Gen Z, so I don't know what that means in Gen Z terms,
Oh,
but
okay.
fair.
What's one belief about success you're actively trying to unlearn?
Mm,
It's a reflective question. It might require a pause to just think and,
yeah,
type it fastly. Even I'm thinking.
I want to know.
Hmm. I think for me, it is always success means working hard, but as I'm growing up, I am discovering that it's more of smart working, like how you said, working with your systems, creating systems, not overstretching, and creating efforts that align with your values. And yeah, let's see who won this giveaway, the final giveaway for today. It's Rashmi Desai, and she thinks she wants to, yeah, the same answer. Yeah,
Same answer. Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. For me, it was trying to stop defining my version of success with someone else's version of success.
Yeah.
Because when I met certain people, I used to think, wow, they're so successful. I want to be like that,
Mhm.
or I want to be like them someday. And now I've realized that no, I have to build my own lane, and my version should be, not should be, but right now at this stage is completely different than what those people who I used to look up to had at that point in time.
Yeah. It's good to get inspired, but just getting stuck on their path of success might not really help us and could lead us to burnout. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Yes, that's actually the biggest factor because we look at the way social media is right now bombarding us with so many perfect reels and perfect images, and when you think of a vacation, everything's just perfect, but nobody shows, the dark side of it, real versus real life. And I get that because when I look at my feed, I just want to remember the good things, not the bad things. Like nobody's going to know how I was freaking out before this call, or when we spoke, Divya. I'm like, am I too overdressed, am I not, what? But
Yeah.
yeah, but now here I am, I'm talking, and I feel it feels so great and feels so good. So yeah, it's like you said, look at everything, get inspired, get motivated, but then ultimately you need to sit with yourself and figure out, what does it mean to you? What does success means to you? And is it going to make you happy or not in the end? Because in the end, it's just you, and what you do matters, not what someone else is saying. Like, oh, she's a great author. Now I also want to go write a book. Or she's a great podcast host, I want to do a podcast. No. Is that really something that you think will give you happiness down the line? And is that what aligns with your version of success? Just go do that. But again, don't I know there are a lot of people here who think it's very easy, but just realize that everything takes time. And even when you're trying to walk on someone else's path of what success means, doesn't mean that you might have that time and energy and resources when you're trying to build that. So everything takes time. Give it time. Start getting bored, is what I want to tell people. You're always switching from one screen to another. So I would say pick up the book, leave your phone down, and then just think, get bored for a second. And when you get bored, see what ideas you're coming up with. And when you talk to people, what are people telling you about? Like, oh, you're a great cook. So okay, that means you're doing something really good. Think about those things, not something completely different. Like if someone's complimenting me on the way I cook, then I might go back and think, okay, how can I maximize on the thing that I'm already good at? Versus I'm not going to go say, okay, now I'm going to be a, skydive instructor, or, or, go to bungee jump from somewhere. So just figure that out. Everyone's different. Everybody's life is different. Um, just remember not to get burnt out.
Yeah, totally agree. And we'll move now into more Q&A. If you have any questions for our dear author, please type it into the chat. I'm sure she would love to answer all your questions. So the first question, Shrika, is success is dependent on how you perceive it. Oh, sorry, that's not the first question. Sorry, someone just answered some of our giveaway questions. So sorry.
Good one.
So our first question here is burnout a personal failure or a systemic one? And where does individual responsibility end?
So, personal or systemic, I would say both. First, if I had to prioritize it, I would say systemic, because your systems are not working for you, they're working against you, which is why you're feeling that effects of burnout in your personal life. So, I would say it's both.
What can we do in real life to avoid burnout and still achieve success?
Great question. I really want to say buy the book so you can read what it is, but I will give out some tips that helped me and that worked out for me. So in real life, no matter what role you're assuming, no matter what responsibilities you have, one thing that you can start doing today is make time for yourself without any distractions. I know everyone's going to say, but I'm so busy. Everyone's busy all the time. But start with 15 minutes. It can be before everybody in your house is waking up or after everyone's going to sleep. Take out 15 minutes. It can be during your lunch break or, when you're running errands and you're sitting on the couch for 15 minutes. Don't talk. Don't do anything. Just feel and understand what your body's trying to tell you and then think about nothing. Yes, I've mentioned that in one of the chapters in the book where I say, I scheduled time to do nothing. I know it sounds super sad and you're like, how boring is that? But it works. So start with that. That would be my one tip that you can start today and anybody can do it. Start with 15 minutes and just do nothing.
Great advice. So, our audience is curious. What's the story behind the book cover?
Ooh, good question. So my editor, I want to give all the credit to Muhammad Tayyab. He is an amazing, amazing guy with some amazing work ethics. Muhammad was the one who designed the book cover. I am a lot of things, but I don't have an artistic gene in me. So when it comes to designing, editing, I am far, far, far away from it. I had an idea in mind, and then I just gave it to Muhammad, and I said, okay, I don't want most of the books on burnout in the market have a flame and they have a matchstick just to represent what burnout is. I didn't want that. I wanted the book to convey ambition and growth. That's why that symbol, and that's why the whole design and the book cover. And I reached out to a dear friend, Kapila Fahum. She is an award winning Hollywood producer. And she was so sweet. She was already going through her assignments and everything, but she still made time to read an advanced reader copy. And then she gave a review that I wanted to put on the cover of the book. So that's her review right there. That's the story behind the book cover.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, even when you first released the book cover, I really wondered what those three triangles are, how different in colors they are, and how they're overlapping. You know, from I thought them of them as different stages in life and how they're building, how we are building up to reach our ambition or a goal. You know, or
Perspective.
different seasons we go through when we are trying to achieve a goal, right? So,
True, true.
yeah, so that's great. Our next question is, what led you to write a book about burnout and who is your inspiration?
Ooh,
Is your inspiration
fun.
your own burnout?
Exactly. Yes, that's partially true. I'm gonna have to give a few people some shout outs here. So there are certain people in my life who give me deadlines for no reason whatsoever. And when I was young, it used to be my mom. Then it my friends, my spouse, my coworkers. I feel like I'm really lucky to have these people in my life who hold me accountable. So one of the reasons why I wrote the book and published it was that because everyone kept asking me, Shika, when's your next book coming out? What are you even doing? It was 5 years ago when your first book came out. When is it happening? And not many people know this, but I used to say, yeah, yeah, I'm going to write one. I'm writing one. I'm already working on one. And I started the sci-fi romance and I did write some significant amount of words. But then I'm like, a friend of mine gave me another deadline and she said, I'm expecting a baby by November of 2025. And if you don't write or publish the book by then, it's not going to be good. And I'm like, oh wow, now I have an actual deadline. And then Simon, most of y'all know, he always, he is big into sarcasm. And he's like, oh, okay, how many words did you write today? What did you do? So these people in my life are my inspiration. And not because I seek validation or anything, but because they hold me accountable. I want to be that person who's doing what she said she's going to do. So that was my biggest motivator to finish the book, not just start and finish it. But yeah, my own burnout too. I was going through that and I wanted to share it. And I just didn't want to share my story because then it would just be a boring memoir. I wanted it to be science backed plus have relevant examples that people can figure something out of it. That's why I wrote the book.
Thank you for sharing your inspiration. Yeah, you're really lucky to have so many people who keep you accountable, and you are really trusting that accountability.
Thank you.
And did you experience burnout while writing this book?
Actually, that's a funny story. No, I didn't because I implemented everything that I learned during the research for the book. So I paced myself. And it's a funny story. I always say that as a writer, writing is the easiest part. But what comes afterwards is really difficult, especially if you're not into marketing, if this is your first time publishing the book. There are a lot of things, and in your mind you think, okay, I've written the book, it's done. No, that's just stage one. There are like nine more stages that you have to cross. So no, luckily I wasn't burnt out when I was publishing the book or during the process of publishing it.
Yeah, it's so, you know, how honestly you're answering this question. No, I didn't face burnout or yeah, thanks for that. And can you tell me more about the research that went into writing the book and gathering the actual data?
Yes. So great question. And I love this because when I had the idea in my mind and I had the experiences, I knew that I had to write about it and I knew I had to share it, but I didn't know where would I start. So I started doing my research. One, because I was selfish and I wanted to get an answer and I wanted to come out of the burnout stage. Second, when I started doing my research, I realized that there are so many published articles online. I would highly recommend, if you open the book and if anywhere I've cited an article, there is information and a citation about the article at the bottom of that page in that very same chapter. So I would highly recommend that you guys go check out any of those published articles because they've done all the research, gathered all the data. And I also wanted to make sure that it's not just some famous article or a famous research publication. I wanted to branch out. So I started doing my research from various avenues. I didn't just stick with burnout, I went into success articles, psychology articles. I went into systems and hospitals and everywhere. And that's where I gathered all the data and information from.
That's great to know. That's a lot of work. And thank you for giving us all that citations because I'm a person, who's a sucker for research articles. And yeah, I would love to go back to them
Yeah,
because, yeah, I know not everything can be put in the book, right?
correct. Correct.
Right. Yeah. And one more question. What's your day to day schedule which helps you to keep away from burning yourself out?
Great one. Great question. I'll tell you what it was before.
Yeah.
So
Before
it's
after.
completely different. Yeah. Before, I would wake up in the morning, had no routine whatsoever. I would just survive on coffee and water. And I would put makeup on and sit in front of the screen for my before work podcast interview. I would schedule multiple interviews with guests, do that in the morning before 9 a.m. And then 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. would be my work calls. But I would also squeeze in one more interview during my lunch break. So I did not even have proper lunch. I used to have lunch on my desk during one of the work calls when my cameras turned off. And then in the evening, I would have, after 5 p.m., I would have maybe an hour or an hour and a half break. And then until 8:30 p.m. or 9 p.m., I would have two more recordings scheduled. And I would schedule them for either 30 minutes or 45. And we all know there are technical difficulties just like today. So that would sometimes go on for an hour. And So that way I was cramming so many things up in just one day. And like any other person, I would find ways to decompress, and they would not be doctor recommended ways. So I would either, after 8:30 or 9, I would just have dinner and then just either start editing my YouTube podcast episodes or other social media things that I had to do. If I would get bored of sitting on my desk here, I would then start editing on my phone, even while I was on the couch. So I was constantly staring at screens. I was constantly trying to give out so much. And then it would be the same thing the next day and the next day and the next day. And weekends were just worse. My friends used to invite me over for events and, you know, meetups and gatherings, and I would say, I'm so sorry, I cannot make it because I have a podcast episode. I still do, but now. And then in between, I would just squeeze in one or two of the research articles and read those. So I thought by reading those research articles, I am decompressing and I'm relaxing. But indirectly, I was still working. I was working for the book and I was working for the research of the book. So that way, I was no workout, nothing. Started eating out a lot, and then started being very, very irritable. That's when, and I would smile on the calls, but that would be fake, not happy and not genuine like this. And then after this, once I started reading everything, realized everything, implemented all those tips that I mentioned in the book, I started changing it. So now my routine looks completely different. I have sections allotted. I never overlap two projects at once. Even at work, I think I've started to implement that. It's very different now. But that's my system. So you might have to figure out what system works for you with your um, daily lifestyle.
Yeah, thanks for answering this question with so much clarity and showing us what the before and after. And like so much value goes into production of a podcast episode. So I think it shows me that I should even, value it more. Like there's so much, right? We hear listen to a lot of podcasts these days, and yeah, a lot of work goes into it.
Yep.
And it's many hosts' ambition as well, right?
Correct. True.
So we are on an hour marked now, and as we come to the close of this event, I just want to thank each one of you for showing up with openness and presence. And I hope this conversation and the glimpse into unburnable ambition has given you something to carry with you, whether it's a new way of thinking about success or a moment of reflection, or simply the reminder that you don't have to burn yourself out to rise. I truly hope you'll bring this book into your life and read it and let it be your companion as you navigate to your ambition.
Yes. Thank
And
you. Thank you so much.
yes. And Shika, can you share your email address in the chat so that our winners for today can email you?
Yes, so all our winners, I know most of you guys already, so I'll be more than happy to physically give the book to you guys when I meet you in April. But yes, the others, email, you can reach out to me with your address at riseandtellwithshikha@gmail.com. And again, we'll add it in the chat, riseandtellwithshikha@gmail.com. And I just want to take a moment here and thank everybody who joined today. You have no idea how much this means to me, to us. And I want to thank Divya too. We, it's done. Like, thank you so much. If you wouldn't have pushed me to do this, I don't think we would have done it. We also have some more information about the book club if anybody's interested in joining a book club. I know it's January, everybody wants to get into reading. We can meet monthly. You can talk to me and others about questions you had from the book, what you thought about certain things in the book, what was your perspective. And then after that, we can start picking up other books from other genres too. So feel free to DM me or Divya. I've already tagged her on Instagram and on other places. Thank you again. Thanks a lot. I know it's way past midnight for some people here, and this just really means a lot to me. So thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day or a nice night. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.